they can be the most dangerous people in the institution. That's an overview of where we are in Kentucky. Shedrick, and I'll take questions later.
Okay, I'm going to introduce our two other panelists, and then I will sort of let them have a discussion, maybe interject some questions that we did in the last panel. So we have two other distinguished panelists joining us. First, we have Reverend Roosevelt Lightsey Sr., who is from the Newburgh Reinvestment Program. He is the coordinator of that program. He's assistant pastor, the Community Missionary Baptist Church. He is a retired state employee after 27 years in the adult and juvenile justice system, working in a variety of capacities in that system. All the way at the end is Mark Bolton. He is Director, Louisville Metropolitan Department of Corrections. He's been in corrections for over 30 years, having served as a corrections officer, parole officer, prison warden, and justice administrator in Arizona, Washington State, and here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Please join me in welcoming our panelists. So we're going to share this mic and sort of pass it around and sort of just let our panelists have a free-ranging discussion, but let me just kick it off by sort of asking each panelist to discuss their institutional role in terms of this topic, imprisonment and reentry, and talk about the challenges, major policy initiatives, and maybe where they see us going in the future in terms of possible policy reforms to help reentry become a reality to many reentering the society. Yeah.
Let me first put things, I want to put things in a pretty quick context, and I know we're running short on time. But in Jefferson County, we have a jail system that has, anybody have any idea what our average daily population is? We have, on any given day, we house, I'm going to answer for you, we have about 2,000 inmates in custody, okay, on any given day. Now, the population of Jefferson County is, anybody know? About 750,000 people, right? So on any given day, okay, we have 2,000 people that are in custody. Now, jail is a pretty expensive operation. We have about a $51 million budget, okay? We have about 600 staff. About $7 million of that $50 million budget goes for health care, very similar to state corrections, okay? Now, when you look at the diversity of Jefferson County, anybody know what the African heritage population is of Jefferson County? Of that 750,000? It's about 20%, okay? Now the jail population, okay, by contrast, anybody want to take a guess? About 54%, about 54%, over half, okay? Now we book, anybody have any idea what we admit every year? Comes through the Sally Port of the jail. About 45,000. 45,000. Okay. Now let me give you a quick national perspective. Anybody have any idea what the population of the country is? About 314 million. Okay, that's how many citizens we have in the United States. Okay, about 12% of that population is of African heritage. Now, when you look at the prison population, we lock up more people in the United States of America than any country in the world. Okay? We lock up in prison, not jails, prison, 1.6 million people are in jail right now in this country. Okay? About 60% of them are of African heritage. Okay? We lock up in local detention, about 740,000 people are in local jails on any given day in this country. Okay? About 50% of those folks are of African heritage. Okay? So we have total between jails and prisons about 2.4, 2.5 million people in custody on any given day. And over half of them are of African heritage. Now, that should be a little bit alarming to y'all. It's alarming to me, because if nothing else, it's the money that we spend on corrections in this country, locking people up that when they leave, they're no better. In most cases, they're probably worse. Okay? And this issue of reentry, okay, is something that is kind of sweeping the country now. I know here in the state of Kentucky, there was what was called House Bill 463. The Secretary alluded to it a little bit. Anybody know what that legislation was about? It really is about trying to reduce prison population and also jail population, okay, through best practice. Best practice is those things that work, right? And getting folks diverted into treatment, anger management services, how to manage your money, substance abuse treatment, relationship counseling, those types of things that we know cause criminogenic factors. Okay, and we talked about that. I heard the earlier panel talk a little bit about that. And that's what we're trying to do with not only here in the state of Kentucky, but also nationally, for another reason. We're spending too damn much money on jails and prisons. The Secretary talked about $22,000 a year to lock up an inmate in the state of Kentucky with state corrections. Now here locally in Jefferson County, it's more than about $24,000 a year to operate one jail bed. You know, on any given day, I said we've got 2,000 people in custody, right? Well, I've got 1,793 beds, and I've got 2,000 people in those beds. We're overcrowded. Now, as a community, anybody have any idea in this region what it costs to build a new jail bed? About 100 grand, probably a little bit more. Now, we're already overcrowded. We know what we're doing doesn't work, right? I mean, that's a true definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and over again. When you know it doesn't work. Now, if we were to build a new jail, my jail's falling apart. Our jail here locally falling apart. Okay, those 1,793 beds falling apart. $100,000 build one jail bed. If we were to build a 3,000 bed jail here locally in Louisville, do the math. $300 million to build a new local jail. Now that's $300 million that I don't think that we want to spend. Because what we're doing hasn't worked, right? Hasn't worked. Some of the things that we are doing locally, okay, because bed space is finite. We've got one of the largest home incarceration programs in the country, okay, here in Jefferson County. On any given day, we have 600 people that are on home incarceration. And we're in that ANCO system. I think you all have seen and heard about that. Probably know somebody that's on it, right? We've moved recently into the day reporting arena. You know, on any given day in Louisville, we will lock up to 100, 150 people per day up for not paying their child support. Now, it's costing us as taxpayers $64 a day to lock that guy up. We'd be better off paying the child support for him. Amen. But those are things in public policy issues that we have to start thinking about and talking about. Okay? Because not only is it the right thing to do, okay, but it's also about taxpayer dollars. There's just not enough money to do everything that we want to do. And that's why 463, House Bill 463, at the state level with local impact is certainly a step in the right direction. You know, and I'm going to close by just talking about, you know, disproportionality in the criminal justice system. Okay? When you talk in this country, you know, 2.4 million people, okay, that are locked up in any given day in our jails and prisons. Okay? And over half of those folks are of African heritage. Okay? That ought to be, again, that ought to be alarming. You know, if you are of African descent in this country, you are 5 times more to be executed than a white guy. If you're a black male in this country, you are 6.5 times more likely to be incarcerated than your white male counterpart. That ought to be alarming to us. If you're an African American male, your likelihood of being stopped in a traffic stop is exactly the same if you were of Caucasian descent. That's the good news. The bad news is that once you're stopped, you're about 3.5 times more likely to be searched. Now, what happens when people get searched? You find stuff, right? So just think about some of those things in terms of policy, enlightenment, cost, the great things that we're doing here in the state of Kentucky, some of the great things we're doing here locally, all steps in the right direction. You've got a new police chief, real innovative guy. So we're moving in the right direction.
Just need to go faster.
We always need to go maybe a little bit faster. But, you know, I just kind of leave you with this thought that as we evolve as communities, okay, what we've been doing has not worked. It just hadn't worked. And we know there's evidence out there. We all look at data all the time. The police look at data, corrections look at data, the courts look at data. We've got pretty good data now. Now, what are we going to do with that data to take it to the next level? You know, put our heads together, come up with solutions. There's no magic bullet. I heard that earlier, and there's not. But there is a convergence of a lot of different ideas, a lot of different philosophies, a lot of different ideologies that we know work in other communities that can work here. I appreciate you listening to me here this morning. Thank you.
Just want to share just a few brief remarks regarding the Justice Reinvestment Program. Justice Reinvestment, JRI as we refer to it, is a data-driven strategy to increase public safety and reduce crime by engaging local agencies, neighborhood residents, and facilitating the successful reintegration of individuals returning to their home communities following release from prison or jails. You've heard the data. We've all felt the impact of crime and violence in our local community. And the bottom line is that for the lion's share of us, we don't have the luxury of sitting around on our thumbs, twiddling our thumbs, doing nothing. We have got to be engaged in making a difference. All of those that are going to prison, you've heard the data, you've heard what the Secretary has said. We have, all but 106 that will be getting out one day. The question becomes, when Johnny comes marching home, what happens? Why is it crime continues? Why is it the persons that go through the drama and the stress and all of the negatives that are associated with doing time and that make, I believe, personal commitments while incarcerated, that once I get out, I'm not coming back? Why is it that once they get out, they end up engaged in behaviors that land them right back and modeling before their children and the subsequent generations the kind of behaviors that will start them on a pathway toward repeating the mistakes of parents and elders that they are witnessing every day? I'm encouraged because the JRI program, I believe, creates a vehicle for multiple stakeholders, system stakeholders, community stakeholders, persons that are directly impacted by having done time, together at a table to try and implement strategies that will help deter criminal activity. I am of a persuasion that I, in my heart of hearts, believe that without a vision, people perish. And while it's good for us to strategize and to hear the reports of what's happening systemically, in the meantime, Rome's burning. I'm pleased to tell you that this project has been in existence since October of '07 in the Newburgh community, and in the Shawnee community since, I believe, around the spring of 2010. Since we've been in existence, we have criteria that limits who can apply to be a part of the program, which I believe is significant. That criteria requires that you live in certain zip codes, that you be ideally from the community returning to the community, or that you have a vested interest or ties or connections in that local community. Why I feel that's important is because we all may have interest in what's going on across the street or on the other side of town or in a neighboring state, but we are really engaged by what's happening on my block, what's happening in my house, what's happening in my hood. The Justice Reinvestment Program presents an opportunity for persons to invest themselves and reinvest their energies in trying to make a positive difference in their community and in their own lives. One of the problems that I've experienced that persons coming out of prison have to deal with is life limitations that includes and impacts their own self-esteem. If you have low self-esteem, it doesn't matter much about whether you're working or whether you're a father or a mother or you have others that you're trying to raise or to mentor. But if you don't feel good about you, then all your efforts are going to be negatively impacted. So we've been able to institute programs and practices that allow not only the neighborhood to see that persons who have committed felony offenses and are now in the community, that they're engaged in positive activities, but they are able to join with them and put their shoulder to the wheel collectively to do good for the community. For example, one of our major projects has been a community garden. And we are able to partner with persons that care and that have expertise that can increase the yield and make that effort productive. Kentucky State University's Land Grant College Research Farm has provided seedlings to our project, and with those seedlings we have planted them in an area that was an eyesore, unused, overgrown, neglected property, and we grow vegetables there. With those vegetables, the harvest, we don't sell anything. We give it away to seniors in the community, to the churches, and to persons that may have a need or a desire for those vegetables.